Well. Well, will we expect more Imola chaos here with the Silver Championship? We'll find out sooner or later. I am your main commentator, Suzuka Shark, and alongside me is AmChamp Racer, now running into the commentary box, Wolfin Foxdale.
Yes. Hello. I totally am not a bucket of sweat at the moment, but everything is fine. It is all okay. Speaking of okay, we are here at Imola, and as the AmChamp race has shown, it has continued its, I guess its, notoriousness of causing a little bit of incidents as we follow along with a man that has not been in any of the Simufur series for a while, and that is Raph. And awesome to see him back on the track in silver, and so far has been doing fairly well as we get ready for qualifying to start in about a minute.
Absolutely, it is a pleasure to see Raph back in racing again. They were last seen in the Simufur Friday Night Lights Championship. Of course, they won in the AM class, and we had the honor of being their championship rivals with Jasper back then in a fellow 296. But currently our Blue Silver here, Oily Rax here, is hoping to put up a fight. It's going to be an interesting field full of Ferraris and BMWs at the moment. But there's Swingley in the mix as well with that blender Porsche.
Yes, and again, we do apologize. We've still yet to figure out why we keep getting texture errors. We will eventually figure it out, but it's going to probably take a lot of bribery at this point. We're probably going to have to bribe Blender to figure out what we're doing wrong.
While we continue to fix those bugs, here is Ven in the number 46 BMW, and as the chat mentioned, Ven has set a similar lap time to Raph. They are both 5.590 tenths off Paliqui, who is the current fastest driver as of the moment.
Yes, and again, we like to point out he is returning. This is going to be he unfortunately did have to miss the last race, and unfortunately was not able to finish Donington. But I do want to point out these BMWs are going to have a massive advantage, especially going into some of the S's, as they are able to abuse corners, or curves, I should say, a lot more than the Ferraris.
Yeah, the BMW having that front engine and heavyweight advantage that the Ferraris don't have. Now the Ferrari a mid-engined and lighter car, so will be definitely more sensitive to those curves than, let's say, yeah, as you said, the BMW M4. Look at that Paliqui taking the Alta curves quite nicely, and that is just an example on how good front engine heavyweight cars are. And yep, here we go for qualifying.
Yep, session is ended. We are now getting ready for qualifying, and it looks like it's going to be. I didn't quite see who got out first, but we're definitely going to be excited. It's Pally has always been really good on times, but it's definitely going to, which could definitely shake up things later down the line as we follow along with the McLaren as they head out as we get ready to set everything up. And there we go. We're now back, and we're following along with, I believe,
that is Guiando.
Yeah, Guiando. Don't mind me. I'm horrible with names.
I hope I'm pronouncing it right as well. But Guiando in a new livery for the McLaren. I think from what I've seen in the Silver Champ chat and livery chat, well, those are supposed to be cookies, aren't they? There's a lot of cookies.
Literal cookies.
Yeah, those are probably cookies, biscuits of some sort. And as I said, for Discord, a great place to showcase liveries, to showcase this beautiful designs like this. And if you want to be part of viewing interesting liveries and designs, go over to the Simufur Discord, and not only do we have a gallery of liveries to appreciate, but you can come and join the racing fun with us. You can be one of these drivers racing in the AM and Silver Championships, or you could be just chatting with fellows furries and sim racers alike.
What's even better, you don't need a red button to actually participate.
I see what you did there, Wolfin. Now, as we head over to a qualifying lap, would you take it away, Wolf? Because I have already done this.
All right, we are heading down the main straight, heading toward turn 1, which will be Variante Tamburella. Braking hard, getting down to third, heading into Variante Tamburella, nice and easy through the curves, ducking in deep, now heading toward the Variante, the Villeneuve chicane. Now heading down toward the hairpin, little wide going out of the Villeneuve chicane, but setting himself up nice for the Tosa hairpin, and then nice long climb uphill with no real issues to speak of as we head toward Piratella. Diving in deep, almost going into the curves and then letting your car drift out a little bit wide before heading down into Aqua Minerale. Nice, easy, getting yourself tight as you can so that way you can let the car drift out. Nice, that was pretty much perfect. We are now heading down toward the Resny chicane and hit the bumps. Hopefully your car doesn't get too unsettled. Looks like that went really well. Now heading down the long straight into the Rivazza corners. Setting themselves up, cutting in, and then braking hard, hitting in the Rivazza 1. No issues there, let your car drift out wide. You can let off the gas a little bit as you head into Rivazza 2 and then punch it as you go out. And then you've just got that very long straight to complete a lap here at Imola.
Here comes Giando, who will set the representative lap time, the time to beat a 1:42.6, already somewhat faster than our current AM drivers, but take a look behind Giando as I think the next driver upcoming is Sauce Dragon, who sets a 1:43.1, so not too far off. There's Paliqui 6 cents down. Who is next on this queue? There is Swingley. Nope. Parcho 9 tenths down, so Giando still on provisional pole.
Yep, as the times come in, I don't see any times that could challenge this time at the moment. It's a pretty insane time of 1:42.6 as we keep an eye on Paliqui, who's on a little bit of a tear. So far they've broken even, but Sauce Dragon, however, is starting to gain time. It's like a 4 tenths it looks like, as we follow along with Paliqui as they head up the hill toward the Piratella, and nice and easy. Looks like, oh, I think it was invalidated. They went just a little bit too wide. Now following along with Oily Rags as they head down into turn 1, cutting it deep, getting it nice and smooth, and setting themselves up for the Villeneuve chicane. And I gotta say, this is gonna be interesting. This will be, if Guayando's able to keep that time where it is, it'll be the first time he will be on pole.
Yep, that McLaren setting a really good lap time. Oily Rags just arriving into the front row, but still too far behind.
Yep, as Guayando set yet another amazing time. It was a 1:42, I think 4, I want to say. As
that is a 42.4. Yeah.
Yep, I was sort of close. Following along now with Weiss, who is on a pair of his own. They're 4 tenths up from their original time. This could be huge for them if they're able to pull this off. This could gain them at the very least 1 position. They head down into the last corner, down the long straight, and the answer is going to be no time gained, or no positions gained, unfortunately. As, speaking of positions gained, Paliqui has now gained a position. They are now P2.
And that is Paliqui, who stole the front row off their teammate Oily Rags. As we look over to Leparcho, who at the moment is almost similar to their previous best lap, continuing that charge. Not the fellow Ferrari in the mix. Now, last round, unfortunately, he had that drive-through penalty on the last lap and is looking to make up for lost ground here. But
Ooh.
oh, yep, that is Parcher going
Laku
wide right.
Millerali strikes again. Looks like they may have had like a little bit of snap oversteer or something, and then they just decided to abandon the lap.
Yep, that is not going to help Parcho's efforts in qualifying. But here comes Swingley in the Garage 42 Porsche. They are currently at the back of the grid. Can they improve? Can they get out of the bottom part of the field? We will find out as Swingley in that texture missing blender Porsche. What can they set? They are similar to their personal best. It's going to be close, I think, but I don't think it's quite there. Yeah, we still, unfortunately, in the bottom of the field.
Yep, but guess who did gain a position? That would be Sauce Dragon. He was able to get one up on Paliqui with a 142.3, and Guiando again setting up another personal best of a 142.1. They are tantalizingly close to getting into the 41s, which would be absolutely insane, especially in conditions like this.
Yep, it's very hot out there in Imola. It's really hard to set a lap times with your tires overheating, but Guiando managing to make the lap times matter and almost, as you said, almost piercing the 42s. As we look over to Raf, who is currently P6, they are on a charge. They are currently half a second down on their personal best, but they've lost a bit of time in the hairpin. So let's see how Raf can make up. As Raf heads over to Aqua Minerali, they're still on the gain, but not as much as their Sector 1 time. But it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, Raf a bit jumpy on those curbs in Variante Alta. Take it like a bucking bronco.
Very bouncy indeed. Oh man.
That is not going to help their lap time at all. And as you see, their delta, they're not going to beat their personal best. Although it's going to be really close, but it's too small of a margins to make things matter because they are currently 1/10 down and the next driver is 3/10 down. So tough luck for Raf.
Yeah, unfortunate, but they are improving, so there could be a chance to improve on their lap time. As we see, Swingley has actually put themselves in between Paliqui and Oily Rags. As we see Swingley go really wide going out of the Villeneuve chicane, that's definitely invalidated. So, unfortunate that they pushed the Porsche just a little bit too hard going out of the chicane, and now that lap is invalidated. So at this point, there's nothing they could do. As we see, Ven has now equaled their time. They're going to maybe try to improve upon it, heading down toward down the Torsa hairpin. They're on their way to Piratella, and so far they've gained a 10th, but not really enough to be in target of anyone at the moment. And it looks like the field might be evening out at this point.
Yeah, Guiando still with a 2:10 lead. That is a phenomenal qualifying lap still. But Sauce Dragon only close with 2/10, and the next fastest driver, Paliqui, only 6/10. This is really a tricky time to beat for all these drivers, especially the hot conditions, as Ven pushes a bit too far, invalidated with the track limits. And then there's Weiss, who is now the new last person on the grid, trying to get out of the bottom part of this racing grid.
Yeah, definitely going to try to gain at least one position off and probably put Leparcho down at the bottom. That would help them out greatly as they head down toward Rivazza too. No issues there. In fact, they've gained a little bit of time, but I don't think it's going to be enough to gain a spot off Leparcho. And we're going to find out in a second here, and the answer is no.
Unfortunately, Weiss not setting a lap good enough to get out of that bottom half. But Parcho on a charge right now. I wonder how Parcho's doing. They are currently 3/10 down on their personal best. They are just getting fat. They are improving immensely. They may have not had the best laps earlier on, but hopefully Parcho can keep this momentum and get somewhere higher up on this grid.
Yeah, not a lot of time to do it. 3 minutes left. And that's not a lot of time to set a lap. So it looks like if everything stays the way it is, it will be Guayando with their first pole in this series as we follow along with Leparcho, who's desperately trying to gain some time and maybe get a position heading down toward the chicane, really taking it in really deep into the chicane, but were able to save it, head down to the inside. In fact, they were able to gain even more time, I think. Heading down into Ravazza 1. This is 7/10 up. This is going to be an insane lap if they're able to keep this up. Into Ravazza 2, they gain another 10th. Now, down to the final stretch. Is this going to be enough to steal 7th for Leparcho? The answer is yes, it will be. In fact, it will steal a few positions. They are now in 4th.
Yep, Leparcho, that mega leap he had, just pulling him up into the qualifying order, and unfortunately, it just brings down Swingley, Oily Rags, and Raph. Now, Oily Rags is our current championship leader as it stands. Things are not looking good at the moment for him.
Yeah, super. It's been a pretty rough time. As we say that, Oily Rags has now brought themselves up to third, just ahead of Paliqui. I guess I almost want to say it's commentator's curse, but you know, maybe it's just because we just have a nasty habit of jumping the gun, maybe.
Reverse psychology, jumping the gun too early, I don't know, but Oily Rags looking like they're on another charge as we speak, really riding those curves down Variante Villeneuve, but I don't think they're gaining as much at the moment as Oily Rags not gaining. I don't think anyone else here is gaining at the moment. It's a really close call with 50 seconds to go, so these are going to be the laps that matter, because Guayando is definitely not going to be easy to beat. Currently on pace with their delta by the looks of things, so looking to slightly improve, probably piercing into the 1:41s. Things is going to be looking really quick, and if Guayando breaks into 41s, it's going to be very interesting to see how they will fare in the race.
Yeah, now they're improving on that time, and it's 1/10, so they are going to be in the 41s if they keep this up. Maybe if they gain a little bit of time, this is going to be it. There's not going to be another chance. Only 3 seconds left on the clock. Qualifying will end now, so this is the only shot that Guayando has to get into the 41s. Will he do it? It looks like he's just about to break even, so I don't think he's going to do it, but we'll see. He's only got a few corners left. He's been sitting at 1/10 gain. If he can get one more 10th, he will be in the 41s. Heading into the chicane, he gains another 10th, really sending it deep into the corners. Now, here, heading down toward the final 2 corners, on their way to Ravazza 1, still 2/10 up. Nice and easy. Are they going to gain a little bit of time? Looks like it. Now into Ravazza 2, gaining even more time. Now down to the final straight. This is going to be a personal best, which will solidify their pole. And will it be a 41? Yes, it will. 1:41.872.
That is Guayando guaranteed on pole. They would have gotten pole with their older lap time, but they just had to extend it. And the extended they did, because Guayando is almost 5/10 ahead of Sauce Dragon in terms of quality pace. And yep, that pretty much wraps up our qualifying. Guayando on pole, Sauce Dragon sharing the front row, and Oily Rags, our championship leader, in 3rd.
This definitely does shake up things because, for one, Sauce Dragon is now ahead of Oily Rags in qualifying, and for 2, neither of them are in the front. Well, Sauce Dragon is in the front row, Oily Rags is not. So that makes things a little bit harder for Oily Rags. They're gonna have to really push to get into the front row because they still need to get ahead of Sauce Dragon in order to solidify their pole or their championship lead.
Yeah, yeah, Gian though mathematically not in the championship fight, but Sauce Dragon and Oily Rags really having to focus on each other and probably try and steal P1 if they can. But at the moment, I think their minds are set on focusing on their own championship, finishing ahead of one another. And speaking of championship points, here is the championship standings as it stands. Oily Rags, of course, with a mighty championship lead with 47 points. Blade Wolf, unfortunately, not being able to race tonight because he's on holiday, as far as I'm aware, with 40 points. Swingley in third. Unfortunately, Swingley's down in sixth as it stands, so this is not going to help their championship efforts against Sauce Dragon, who is 1 point behind Swingley. In fifth in the standings is Leparcho with 31 points, Ven with 29 points, Weiss with 16, Timo with 14, Oraz with 12, and completing our top 10 is Zar, who unfortunately doesn't have much points.
Yes, and as you can notice, a few of those drivers are not racing today, and that could definitely shake up the driver's standings later down the line because that is a lot of points lost when it comes to points in the championship. And that definitely opens the door for P2 if Swingley is able to do well because they will be able to jump ahead of Blade Wolf and solidify a P2. And if Oily Rags is able to do well, it would basically seal the deal as far as the championship goes.
Speaking of points, this is Giando's genuine first shot at scoring points. They are now promoted to the silver class. And also for Raph, who can also make a handful of points for himself, making their first race in this season. As we head over to the grid now, we will be on the circuit. Here is Giando's McLaren, the cookie-covered McLaren, setting a 142. No, actually a 141 as far as I was aware. Behind them, starting in the front row, is Sauce Dragon in that RRP confuzzled Mustang, sharing the second row. It's a blue E second row. It's Oily Rags in the purple Ferrari and Paliqui in the purple BMW. Behind them is Parcho in the Tig Gang number 47 Ferrari. He'll share the grid alongside Garage 42's Swingley in that Porsche, who's still missing textures as far as we're concerned. And starting behind them, it's Raph, who is making their first races this season. Let's see where Raph goes coming here, but they will be starting alongside the number 46 BMW of Ven. And to conclude this grid is the number 366 Aston Martin of Weiss.
Yes, definitely interesting grid. A little bit smaller than the AM Championship, but these small grids are definitely going to make things very interesting, especially on the first lap, because you definitely don't want to be left out in no man's land. But the only thing we need to worry about is what's going to happen on turn 1. We've already seen some turn 1 shenanigans last championship, or last race. Hopefully that will not be a repeat on this one.
You will never know. Imola takes no prisoners. Will the silver drivers be able to avoid the curse of Imola has on Simufur grids? As we see Oily Rags' rear end, that short hub rear wing, just covering the front of the Tig-Gang Ferrari of Parcho. It is it's 3 Ferraris in a row. That's Oily Rags and Parcho, and as you can see in the mirrors, that's Raph behind him.
Yeah, 3 Ferraris in one little spot, and then you have on the other side all of the other cars, because you have 4 different cars in the other row: the Mustang, the BMW, the Porsche, and then another BMW. So definitely going to be interesting as we hear the engines fire up. It's almost time for the cars to start their formation lap. as we wait for them to start to pull out. Right now, should be any second now, as the engines are fired up and they should pull out any second now. There we go. There goes Guiando into the grass a little bit. Kind of peeled off just a little bit too much, but surely won't matter. Followed by Sauce Dragon as they get ready for their formation lap. And I gotta ask, again, who do you think's got this? Because with Guiando's amazing pace here, I think he might have this in the bag if he's able to keep it clean.
Yeah, there is, in theory, in terms of qualifying time, there is no beating Guiando. That was a phenomenal lap time. 4/10 above a Sauce Dragon, and technically ahead of the rest of the field. So I have a feeling, knock on wood, I have a feeling Guiando's gonna run away with this. But that Mustang, naturally aspirated V8 against a turbocharged V6, I don't think Sauce Dragon will make it easy for Guiando to peel away on the race start.
And don't forget the other advantage that Mustang has. It is a front-engine car, which means it is able to use curbs a lot better than the McLaren. Remember, the rear-engine cars get very unsettled, especially in the chicanes, because you have to cut those corners in order to gain time. And even though Guiando has proved that they can do it, Sauce Dragon's able to do it with a little less fear of the car getting unsettled, so they may be able to shave a little bit of time if they're able to keep up with Guiando off the start.
As much predictions as we make, we will never be sure until that green flag waves. So it is going to be interesting. The drivers warming up their tires, weaving left and right, trying to get as much temperature into those fresh rubber, those fresh squeaky brakes. So it's going to be very interesting to see who will jump the gun, who will blink first coming into the Tamburello chicane.
Yes, as we head out of Aqua Minerale on our way to the Gresny curves, and it's definitely gonna be very interesting to see what happens. And gonna be honest, I do hope that there's going to be a lot of interesting battles, because a lot of people are almost similar pace, so I don't think the field is going to spread out that much. But hopefully everything goes according to plan as they head down toward the final two corners. This is where they start going double file into Ravazza 1, as we see the drivers now getting themselves ready as we follow along with Guiando, double file heading into Ravazza 1, now heading into Ravazza 2, now down the long straight, and this is where it's going to be interesting as we head down toward the green flag.
This is the moment we've been waiting for. The Silver Championship race is about to start as soon as we head through this very long start-finish rate. So we're going to have to wait for these guys to make it to there. But Guiando, with that cookie plastered McLaren, setting a phenomenal lap time in qualifying. Can they repeat that same masterclass in the race? Can they outpace the others, or will anyone else jump the gun and steal the win away from Guiando? We will find out now as green light, green flag, and away we go. Guiando gets a decent start, but Sauce Dragon putting that Mustang power to use as they head around the outside of Tamburello. Can Sauce Dragon do it? Not quite. Guiando had the inside and makes it through to lead this race. Oily Rags makes it out ahead of Palanquin, but Swingley trying to look on the outside of the number 71 BMW, but they're too wide into Villeneuve. Who will make it out? They're still side to side. Palanquin going a bit wide, just allows Swingley to accelerate off the line. Not a good start for Palanquin, but Palanquin looking into the inside of the hairpin. It's still going on, the fight's still going on. It is, oh, who is that?
That's Ven.
It's Ven going wide, but Palanquin losing out to Swingley.
Palanquin unfortunately losing out to Swingley on the first start, but thankfully everything went well, no major incidents So it's now a matter of trying to gain what you've lost, or keep gaining what you've already gained. As we see Paliquic go a little bit wide going into Aqua Minerale as we head toward the Gresny chicane. Not much of a gap lost. It looks like we've got two different packs now. The front pack of Oily Rags, Sosh, and Guayando, and this pack led by Swingley. For how long remains to be seen, as we see Paliquic right on the bumper of Swingley. Are they going to try to make a move? No, as they head down into Ravazza 1. I saw a little dirt kick up. I think Swingley may have gone just a little bit wide, but not enough for it to matter. As we head down to the main straight for our first completed lap, and our first fastest lap, which will be Guayana with a 1:53. But obviously this is the out lap, so not much to say there. As we follow along now with Leparcho, who's going to try to make a move, maybe going into turn 1. That is a very deep dive, and I don't think it's going to work out. No, it's not. Really deep into the grass, and then Ven gets loose going out of the corner.
Absolute carnage going around here in Imola. It's business as usual as Parcho and Ven. There's Parcho spinning into the gravel of Vilnius. That is a rather unfortunate case for Parcho, and now he has to do the process all over again as Parcho rejoins the track. And Raph and Swing and Weiss take advantage.
Yeah, big jump for Weiss and Raph. Very lucky for Ven. That could have gone so much worse. Unfortunately, Leparcho kind of got very eager going for Ven, as we see Paliquic has gotten ahead of Swingley as they head toward Aqua Minerale, and now Paliquic is on the charts to try to catch up to his teammate as we head down toward the Gresny chicane. Remember, the front engine cars have a lot more advantage of Swingley. It's very loose as they take too much curve going into the Gresny chicane.
That just allows Paliquic to run away even more, but there is Weiss charging against the Ferrari of Raph. They're side to side coming into the two Ravazza corners. Who will make it out? It's Weiss on the inside, Raph on the outside. Raph trying to find a better exit, and through goes Raph on the inside of the second Ravazza into the main straight. But Weiss, has he got the corner exit? I don't think he's got it. Raph goes through. What a smart move.
Amazing move by Rafi. Let them have the position because they overshot, and then they used the over-under in the Ravazza 2 to regain that spot that they lost from Weiss. And now Weiss has unfortunately lost a fair bit of time, but now they're right back on the heels of Raph. This could turn interesting very quickly as we follow along now with Weiss as he tries to regain what he lost. Very, very close. This is definitely going to be an interesting battle we'll have to keep an eye on as we head down into the Villeneuve chicane. No issues there, but a little time lost for Weiss. Now heading into the Tosa hairpin. Raph took a little bit too much curve, but I don't think it's going to matter much as they head down toward the straight. Now heading into Paratello. Unfortunately, these two are kind of on their own, so Raph unfortunately doesn't have anyone to get a little bit of a draft from to maybe pull away from Weiss. And Weiss now has all of the draft. They're just under a second, so they've definitely got a draft going into Aqua Minerale.
The field almost evenly spaced by the looks of things, excluding Parcho, who unfortunately had that spin in the Villeneuve chicane. Raph, as you see Raph, trying to still run away from Weiss. That Aston Martin is certainly on a charge, 9/10 behind the Ferrari as we look over back at Guayando, who's held quite a sizable lead. They are currently almost 2 seconds up on Sauce Dragon.
Yeah, 2-second lead. We thought that Guayando was going to be fast here, especially after the qualifying time, and they're definitely proving it. They're in the mid 142s, about 5/10 off their quali pace. Very, very consistent times. So it's definitely going to be a hard work for Sauce Dragon and Oily Rags as they come around. And not far behind is Paliquic and Swingley and Ven, just barely with like about 2 seconds between each other.
Yeah, Ven is putting on a chase against Swingley, just as Weiss is putting on a chase to Raph. Weiss looking much closer to Raph, to the rear end of that yellow Ferrari. But Weiss, Again, Imola, a really tricky track in terms of overtaking, so Weiss will have to pray that Raf cracks under the pressure of that Aston Martin.
Or find a little bit of a gap to maybe send it, but that would be very risky. We've seen that in the last race, how well that goes. As we head into Aqua Minerale again, we slowly but surely trying to pick away at that gap between him and Raf, and so far this is the closest battle we have at the moment. As we head on board now with Raf as they head toward the Grizzly chicane, no issues there. Go a little bit wide out of the corner, but no time lost, and Weiss still has a ways to go to try to catch up to Raf.
Yeah, this is a battle for third place in the reverse podium if you're a really 3D fan. Anyways, Guyano setting another fastest lap. These laps just keep on coming. Guyano just keeps on running away. That is now a 3-second gap off of Sauce Dragon.
It is absolutely insane that these times are just improving lap after lap. And I think this is just due to the open air, because you can see all the drivers in the top 3 spots. I think Griando took a little bit too much curve going out of the Villeneuve chicane, but I don't think it lost him a little bit of time. Now heading into the Tulsa Hairpin, but as I was saying, all of the cars right here in the front of the field, they're within 2 seconds of each other, meaning they don't really have a draft, so they don't really have an advantage. And now, as we follow back on the battle between Weiss and Raf, we can see that Raf is starting to pull away a little bit from Weiss. Their gap is now a second, when it was about 7 or 6 tenths, as we see Weiss desperately trying to make up what they lost.
As you say that, I think I saw Raf went a bit loose down Piratella, touching the grass just a little bit, but still managing to keep that car pointing the right direction and running away from Weiss as they head into Variante Alta. Heartbreaking, and I think this is where the Aston Martin thrives, because it's a big curbing as we see Paliqui closing on his teammate and championship leader Oily Rags.
Yeah, at the moment, Paliqui slowly but surely chipping away at the gap between him and Oily Rags as Guyandos. It's another fastest lap, a 1:42.3. I keep saying it, every lap he gains a tenth. I don't know where he's finding this pace, but it's definitely helping him out, because it's just pulling him away from everybody else, and I don't know if anyone's going to be able to catch him at this point.
I don't think so. Guyando, oh my goodness, really running away. It's a 3-second gap between Sasha and Guyando, and a 3-second gap between Oily Rags and Sauce Dragon. So this field is starting to span out, excluding the battle between Weiss and Raf. But we might have another battle developing here as well. Paliqui and Oily Rags, is it going to be a teammate battle? If I am right, I don't think they'll be playing team orders. But Oily Rags has a championship to focus on. But Paliqui, I think Paliqui would like to have a few positions for himself.
Yeah, I mean, again, you would be the one, to be fair, you would have probably been the one to give those orders if that were the case, to be fair. But, you know. Anyway, we're back on the battle between Weiss and Raf. Weiss gaining a little bit of time, especially through these chicanes, but Weiss just going a little bit wide into the first set of the chicane, and I think it lost him a little bit of time. Now heading down toward Rivazza 1, and they've been kind of, I wouldn't say stagnated, but they've been they've not really gained, but they've not really lost either.
Yeah, we still keeping a relatively equal distance between him and Raf, as it was for a long time now. So I think this will be down to who will do the undercut, who will do the overcut. It will be all down to pit stops, as the pit window will open up with 9 minutes to go.
9 minutes till pit lane opens. Still plenty of time to plan your strategy, and again, we probably won't see a lot of them pit immediately, as I don't think really anyone has any damage, as we see Weiss getting a lot of time going into the Villeneuve chicane. They've now brought it down to 3 tenths going into the Tosa hairpin, as we see Raf go a little bit wide, but it's not really going to matter. But now Weiss is really on a charge, trying to gain what they lost, and oh man, it could definitely be very interesting if they're able to get close enough. They may be able to make a move going into Rivazza 1.
You won't know. Weiss and Raf have stayed relatively close to each other, but that is Raf going a bit wide on Aqua Minerale. That opens the chance for Weiss. Will he dive down the inside of the Alta chicane? It looks really optimistic. Weiss hanging on in the inside, but Raf trying to find a better exit, slingshotting that Ferrari to go side to side, coming into the two Rivazza corners. Will it be too wide between these two? It's going to be close, but Raf staying behind the Aston Martin of Weiss, thinking of a better opportunity in the long run as Raf goes a little bit wide, tucking into the slipstream of that Aston Martin.
Yes, he's lost a little bit of time because he went fairly wide and I think got a little bit into the gravel. As we see, Weiss had a much better exit and is now losing time. As we see, Palaquis has caught up to Oily Rags. This is now going to make things very interesting as we head down toward the Villeneuve chicane. Right on the bumper of Weiss, or right on the bumper of Oily Rags, is Palaquis. As we head down toward the Tosa hairpin, Palaquis right there, trying their best to maybe make a move or play a little bit of mind games, because they haven't really. They lost a little bit of time going out of the Tosa hairpin, and now they're trying to regain it heading into Paratella.
As much as I don't want to be biased, this battle right
that's
here.
Raf!
That is Raf! That's Raf spinning and there's Partial going through. I wonder what happened. It must be down in the hairpin for sure. But as we look over to the replay here, Variante Villeneuve, I wonder what happened. Oh, that was Weiss already ahead, so Weiss already made a move. So I think, yeah, Raf may have spun it on his own by the looks of things.
Yeah, he did.
Just losing control under himself. That is just a rather unfortunate case. And I was about to say, as much as I was trying to avoid bias, this battle between Palaquis and Oily is making me nervous. I hope these two solve it rather civil and without any teammate, and without breaking rule number 1, don't hit your teammate.
Yeah, let's hope that everything goes well. Look at Palaquis with a massive jump going down the straight. Is Oily Rags gonna let him? Is Oily Rags, I think, just let him by? He wasn't gonna fight it, and I think they're gonna maybe try to work together to maybe try to gain some time, because Palaquis just went straight on by through the straight as they head down toward the chicane. They're now heading down toward the Villeneuve chicane with Palaquis ahead, and man, that could have been very interesting. We'll see what happens later on, but I also want to point out, Raf was very lucky. They almost got into the back, or they almost got creamed by Leparcho, who came around the corner and found a yellow Ferrari basically right on the track, and they were able to save it, thankfully. And thankfully no major incident happened from that, and they were able to get around with no real issue.
I want to clarify that there's no way I would know how to relay between those. These two decided between themselves that they have to work together. As we look over to Leparcho, who has gained a position from Raf's inconvenience. That is the scraps that Parcho wants to pick, and hopefully Parcho will pick more scraps between if there's more action ensues. As we look over to the replay, Parcho going a bit wide. I think this was the incident down the Villeneuve chicane. Yes, it was, because there was Ven going wide off Tamburello, and Parcho trying to send one into Villeneuve as the two just come into each other. And yeah, Parcho, unfortunately, the victim in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to point out that could have gone so horribly for Ven, because had it been like in another spot, they both could have spun. And for Parcho, they could have slid into a wall. The only thing they got was a little bit of contact damage from hitting Ven, and that's about it. They were able to kind of save it and get into the grass, but thankfully, no real damage done is anything that really needed to be fixed anyway. As we follow along now with Ven, who's kind of just running his own little race, slowly but surely trying to gain up on Swingley, who's about 3 seconds ahead. As we head up the hill after the Tosa chicane. And so far, the fields have kind of evened out. And now we follow along with, well, still with Ven. And right now, just like I said, everything's evened out, but we have about 3 minutes until pit lane opens, and that's when the strategy really gets into play as Ven gets really, really loose going into Ackerman and Raleigh. It looked like they may have gotten into the grass a little bit, and which caused a lockup, but thankfully Ven was able to save it.
Yep, 3 minutes ago until pit windows open. Now that's when things will happen. That's when the strategies will pay off. Who has the best strategy between one another? Let's see. Within 3 minutes, who will go for the undercut? Who will go for the overcut? As Guiando sets another fastest lap, and is almost a 1:41. At this point, Guiando might go into the 41s on race pace as well.
That's kind of insane, I'm not gonna lie. If you're doing 141s on race pace, I don't know, man. I feel like you should probably be in pro, but that's just my opinion. But Guiando with an absolute massive tear, now heading down toward the Villeneuve chicane. Sauce Dragon, the next closest driver, with a 5-second gap. Now, obviously, when pit lane opens, that's when things are going to make things a lot more interesting. But hopefully, everything will be okay.
Yeah, that is right. And as for your point in pro phase, well, the silver championship here is what helps us determine who is going to pro, who is staying in silver, or who's dropping to back down the M class. In the case of the previous season, well, I myself, a silver class graduate alongside Denak here, who is running the cameras behind the scenes. So this championship's really about really getting into detail when it comes to picking the order.
Absolutely, this is all about pace, and right now, Guiando is just on the pace all their own. Every lap they're gaining 1, 2, even 3/10 of a second. As we follow along now with Raf, who's unfortunately in last, and I think that spin may have cooked their tires a little bit, and so they're struggling a little bit for grip. Hopefully, they're able to kind of recover what they lost. But it's definitely going to be a hard climb for Raf after what happened.
Yeah, rather unfortunate case for Raf. Now all he has to do is make up as much lost time as he can, pick up some scraps, assuming some scraps will appear, and maybe take advantage in the pit stops, because who knows? A good, oh, that is Ven going very wide, but managing to keep the car pointing the right way. But I was about to say, the pit stops could really make or break a race, as Ven going really wide, sliding on the exit of Tamburello. That was a close one.
That looks like just another case of snap oversteer going out of the corner. And that happened to him earlier, and that's what opened the door for Leparcho going out of that exact same corner. So basically a repeat of what happened last time. I'm wondering if maybe there's just maybe a setup issue or something like that. But now, pit window is open. Now again, I don't think anyone's going to pit immediately, but this is now going to be the time where drivers are going to start thinking, when do I pit? When do I try to maybe go for the undercut here? Because the undercut is fairly strong here, so long as you don't miss the pit line, which has happened to a fair few of us because of how close it is going in. And we did get a couple of drive-thrus in the last race from that instance. So we'll have to see what happens with Guiando and others as they get ready for their pit strategy. Now following along with Guiando at the moment, who's basically on a race all of his own, as we head down toward the Villeneuve chicane. And I don't think anyone's gonna box yet. My guess would be within the 35 to 30 minute mark is when we're gonna start seeing people box.
Yeah, that is pretty much where you have the equilibrium between an undercut and fair distribution of the tire degradation, because you'll be spending 30-30 or 35 25 if my math is correct, 35-25 on in terms of tire degradation, but at the moment everyone's staying out as it is.
Yeah, especially for Leparcho, because Leparcho slowly but surely is chipping away at their gap between them and Weiss. Now between just under 2 seconds, or just over 2 seconds, heading into Paratello. It's been slowly but surely, but this could make things very interesting if everything goes to if Leparcho is able to get ahead of Weiss before he goes into pit. That could help him a lot. Or he may just say, screw it, and box now, get their pit stop done when they get close, and hope that they may be able to get some positions gained in open air.
This is the opportunity Parcho needs right now. He has spun from an incident in Villeneuve, but has come out unscathed, albeit with a minor scrape on the front right corner of that Ferrari. But Parcho, unfazed by that, on a charge on Weiss, trying to cut the lap times, trying to shave off some precious tenths off that Aston Martin.
Yeah, slowly but surely chipping away at this lead, even with probably slightly cooked tires from that slide. So the question then becomes, if they're able to gain like this, then who knows what they're going to be able to do later down the line with fresh tires. They may be able to go for a charge and maybe get themselves back in the top 5.
Yeah, but Imola is pretty abrasive, pretty rough on the tires, so you still have to have some sense of tire conservation, because once those tires go, I feel like that's going to be game over. You won't be finding the pace, you won't be finding the grip that you need as Parcho closes in on Weiss. I think Weiss might have lost a bit of that grip over time, and Parcho is almost on the rear end of that Aston Martin.
Yeah, getting close. Getting very, very close. It's almost like they're getting like 5/10 every second. And slowly but surely, they should be able to make a move very soon, probably within the next lap or so. As we head down toward the toward the chicane. Now, and look at Leparcho really sending it deep into the corner, and that gained them a lot of time. And they are now right on the back of Weiss. Any second now. Are they going to try to maybe make a move going into Ravazza? No, but they're definitely going to gain a lot of time going into Ravazza. And heading into Ravazza 2, let's see what happens as Weiss and Leparcho now heading down the main straight. You can see that the power of the Aston on launch is able to kind of help pull them away in the main straight. And now, as we see Leparcho really sending it deep into turn 1, it gained them a lot of time, but it almost put them in the back of Weiss. Very, very close. That could have gone so much worse, and unfortunately it cost them a lot of time because they had to back off. And, oh, that might be bad for Weiss!
Yeah, Weiss has gone wide, unfortunately, clobbering the sausage curves. That Aston Martin takes curves, but by the looks of it, Weiss unfortunately took a bit too much, biting more than that Aston Martin could chew, and that's another scrap to Leparcho. Leparcho probably in that cockpit saying, thank you very much, I'll have P7.
Yeah, but then Leparcho goes very wide going into Paratella, and it's going to be an invalidated lap, but still, they may have chewed off a little bit more tires trying to gain all this time. And remember, they did really send it going into turn 1, so I'm wondering how good these tires are at this point.
Yeah, Parcho really pushing back that Ferrari. The car is just absolutely jumping and skipping over those curves. Just you can really see in the body language of that car. It's pushing really hard as Marshall continues to fight that Ferrari into making up a few more positions as we zoom in on Paliqui, who is currently last of the podium sitters, P3, but a pretty comfortable lead ahead of their teammate.
Yeah, pretty comfortable lead as we see Weiss heading into pit lane. They will be the first ones to actually go for a pit stop, as this is going to be a 75-second pit stop time. That's plus the 30 seconds to do tires and refuel. So definitely a lot of time in pit lane. And I think Weiss at this point was just like, I'm just going to do it now and get it over with. As we follow along now with Raph, who's basically, despite everything that happened, they're at least able to kind of gain a little bit of time. And maybe if they're lucky, if they can push hard enough, they might be able to get ahead of Weiss with an undercut.
You mean an overcut? But yeah, Weiss, the first one to pull the trigger. I wonder if the others will follow suit later on, because it's almost 30 minutes to go. So it's getting close to the halfway mark. So it's going to be interesting to see who pulls into pit lane and who continues to stay out and go longer. As we
as we head down into Rivazza 1, or Rivazza 2 actually, following along with Oily, who's now kind of on his own. They've got a 4-second gap between him and his teammate, Paliqui, as we see Weiss just coming out in front of Paliqui. That could make things very interesting. And thankfully they were able to let them by, but now Weiss is just kind of, he's gonna have to pay close attention, because now he's got not just Paliqui to deal with, but soon he's gonna have to deal with Oily Rags on cold tires.
Weiss hot jumping coming out in front of the front runners at the moment. That is unfortunately where he has to slot in to continue this race. So it's going to be interesting to see how the others will fare when they come out of their pit stops. But at the moment, everyone's staying out as it is. But Weiss going up. But Weiss, just by the looks of it, not really in the way of anyone else.
Yeah, they've kind of gotten themselves sandwiched, and hopefully it stays that way until Oily or Paliqui pits, and when that happens, they will be in open air again, which will help them out greatly.
Now, I mean, in this case, I think I would be coming in for a pit stop as soon as they see a back marker, because that back marker traffic is going to slow you down a lot, and it's going to affect your second stint and how that will go. So I think it's going to be a safer bet to come in, but at the moment, that is Soft Dragon coming in. They're the second one to pull the trigger, and I wonder if this will cause a chain reaction, because it's now 30 minutes to go. We are in the halfway mark, so in theory, almost anyone should be doing their pit stops to get that equal tire wear distribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, with Soft Dragon coming in, this is unfortunate. This is unfortunately going to kind of force people's hands, as we see two more coming in. That's Ven and Raph both coming in, as they now will complete their mandatory stops. As you see Raph coming into his box, as we wait for Soft Dragon to drop, and away he goes, and that's Leparcho.
That is Leparcho, who has spun on what looks like Villeneuve, so I assume this is another problem with the curbing. So as we look over here in the replay, Leparcho coming out of Tamburello, I wonder what happened as we head into Villeneuve. And I think, yeah, he went a bit too fast on the left-hander, too fast that he spun as he headed into the right-hander, but managed to get the car pointing the right direction as soon as possible. But at the moment, I assume that is 4 drivers who have pulled the trigger. So who is going to blink for the rest of the race? Who is going to be the next one to come into their pit stop? That is Kiyando coming into the pit lane for their pit
Yeah,
stop. And behind them, Oily Rags.
Yeah, Oily Rags also coming in. This definitely kind of hampers Oily Rags here. As we see Swingley also coming in, leaving Paliqui with the lead. And at this point, maybe Paliqui's going to try to go for the overcut, but I don't think it's going to really get them close to Guiando. As we follow along here with Sauce Dragon, this is the one that we want to keep an eye on, with Oily Rags and Swingley coming in. Sauce Dragon now has to make up as much time as he can to see if maybe he can keep that gap that he has. Oily Rags in pit lane. We're just waiting to see where they wind up, and that's Leparcho also coming in. That's not a big surprise there. After the spin, I would assume that his tires are probably cooked. Now here comes the Mustang, and there's Guiando coming out. And there's Oily Rags coming out. It's gonna be close. I think this might be it.
It's not quite as Sauce Dragon just zooms past. So Oily Rags having to settle for third at the moment. But again, Paliqui hasn't pitted. They are committed to going the long run. Just like JPEG in the AM Championship, Paliqui is going long and trying to get the best rubber for their second stint.
Yeah, they're definitely going to try to maybe chip away at Guiando's lead, but I don't know if it's going to work, because as we see Leparcho coming out, and they've decided to take a cone with them. Now following along with Weiss. Is he going to get out ahead of Weiss? No, he's not. Weiss now with a position gain.
With the pit lane chaos happening, Guiando still remains in the lead, but Weiss has undercut Parcho, if I'm correct. And at the moment, we're still waiting to see whether where that pit stop will land Paliqui, because Paliqui really has a tall order if he's committing to the long run, because they have a lot of drivers to get through with fresh rubber. As you can see, Ven there, they have to get past them if they're assuming they're faster on pace. But Paliqui going a bit too wide on Aqua Minerale. That's not going to help their hopes of the long run game. I think their tires are really starting to shred.
Yeah, their tires are probably giving out at this point from how hard they pushed. But the other problem is Guiando is only a minute behind. The pit lane time is 71 seconds. So if Paliqui were to box now, Guiando would be ahead of him by 10 seconds.
Now hold on, there is Paliqui pitting. I think Paliqui has done the overcut to try and get closer to Sauce Dragon. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pays off. Paliqui in the pit lane right now, just flashing those indicators that have no right to exist on the BMW. And there is Sauce Dragon in that Mustang, charging as fast as he can around the Imola circuit. That Mustang has a lot of pressure mounting on it, because Paliqui might have done the unthinkable, might have done the brave overcut strategy, and it just might work if Paliqui has the tire advantage and can get past Sauce Dragon, if assuming that Sauce Dragon remains ahead of them in the pit lane.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be close. They just went out of the chicane, and they're now heading toward Rivazza 1. I think it's going to be fairly close. They just dropped. Here they go. Now heading down toward the main straight. They have less of a time than Sauce Dragon did going out of pit lane. Let's see where it comes. Here he comes down the straight. It's going to be close.
It's 71 versus 73. Where is the 71 BMW of Paliqui? That is so close but not quite. Sauce Dragon zooms past, but Paliqui now has that tire advantage that he can use to try and chase that Mustang.
Yes, definitely. And now he's only 2.5 seconds behind Sauce Dragon. And now all Palikwi needs to do is push and gain as much time as he can as he goes a little bit wide going out of the Villeneuve chicane and into the Tosa hairpin. He's now going to get those tires warmed up, and he's now going to have to start pushing because he's got 23 minutes until the race ends. And with this, all drivers have completed their pit stops with 3 minutes left till the pit window closes.
This is going to be interesting to see how the strategy games fold out, because Palikwi, having done that overcut, getting a little bit closer to Sauce Dragon, but that little bit of margin is all they need, because that Mustang giving Palikwi probably quite the tow. But it just has to go down to Palikwi warming up those tires, keeping them fresh, and trying to conserve them for the long run, because that is a tall order trying to beat the Mustang of Sauce Dragon.
Yeah, definitely. As we follow along now with Guiando, who's got a 13-second gap between him and Sauce Dragon, which is massive. Absolutely massive. Basically, at this point, all Guiando has to do is just drive, and he's got the win in the bag. And now, as they head toward the Villeneuve chicane, it's at this point, if I were Guiando, I wouldn't push. I've got plenty of space between me and the person behind me. I would just kind of keep it easy and just cruise to the finish line.
I mean, quite debatable, but unfortunately, Guiando has no. I don't think Guiando has any time to relax, because if you slack a little bit, that might just wake up the others to try and get to you. Like, take for example Max Verstappen, at least in the 2023 season, when he was so dominant, 20 seconds ahead of P2. He just kept on pushing. He is pushing his own limits, as I assume Guiando is. He is pushing his own limits, and it's great to see drivers, despite having a large lead, continuing to push hard.
Yeah, following along now with Swingley, who's right now got a, I believe, 7-second gap between him and Oily Rags. But if Swingley is able to keep this position, it'll definitely help them in the championship, because with Blade not racing today, it means that he will gain a massive points haul, which will probably put them in P2 and fairly close to Oily Rags.
Fairly close to Oily Rags indeed. Sauce Dragon, in P2, will have a healthy amount of points, but I'm not sure if it's quite close enough to give him and Oily Rags a comfortable margin. It's going to be really close with Oily Rags down in P4 and Sauce in P2, but we won't know until this race ends. We have yet to see the point standings once that comes out after the race.
Yeah, we'll have to see once the points are tallied, or at least the unofficial ones are tallied, as we follow along now with Palikwi, who's gotten those tires fired up and is now starting his charge towards Sauce Dragon. 2.4 seconds he's got to gain in 20 minutes. Not that hard to do, but he's got to do it. But he's got plenty of time, but that doesn't mean he should get comfortable. He's just got to keep going and try to find a place to do it.
May I point out, Palikwi on their last lap, 3/10 faster than Sauce Dragon. So Palikwi clearly having the upper hand in terms of pace, but Sauce Dragon really looking like they're really under pressure right now. Might just think that I think I have to push more, because there is Palikwi right behind me, charging like a raging bull, or should I say, a raging shark dragon.
Wait, are they a shark dragon? I don't particularly know, but
they are a dragon, but they are driving for a shark team, so I guess I should say that.
Yeah, I was very confused for a moment. But anyway, we can see that the gap between him and Sauce Dragon is now dropped to 2 seconds. So he's gaining about, I want to say, like 3/10 a lap. So if he keeps this up, I think it'll be about 4, 5 laps till he's right on their bumper.
Who knows? It's going to be really close because Sauce Dragon is already pedal to the metal. Sauce Dragon really pushing hard here as we see Leparcho coming back from that spin in the Villeneuve chicane. Coming up to Weiss again. This is deja vu for the number 47 Tig Gang Ferrari. Now he has to do the whole song and dance all over again. Try and fight Weiss all over again.
Yep, definitely. As we see them gaining slowly but surely, they are definitely the faster car with how quickly they've been able to gain time with Weiss. But they've unfortunately just had an issue with consistency, especially going into the Villeneuve chicane, which has been their kryptonite. That's spinning twice there. And now, as we see Leparcho heading into the Villeneuve chicane again, this time it was nice and clean. Now they've just got to hopefully keep that gap, or keep that pace going, and see if they can make a move fairly soon.
Yeah, Pateron has a long way to go still to try and get up to the rear end of Weiss. 17 minutes to go. We are almost 3/4 away done with this race, but it is still not yet over. We still have the 17 minutes to fight it out.
Yep, 17 minutes on the clock, which is both a lot of time and not a lot of time. As we see Parcho just absolutely sending it into the curbs in that chicane, and I gotta say, I wish I was able to do stuff like that, because that chicane is basically my kryptonite, and the car always got really unsettled for me going in there if I tried to go fairly deep, and it has been helping out Leparcho immensely, because with each time they're doing it, they're gaining at least 2/10 a lap. So they're definitely going to be catching them soon.
I would like to report that Parcho was 4/10 faster than Weiss on their last laps. Speaking of gainers, Paliqui is also on continuing their charge on Sauce Dragon. They are currently 1.5 seconds, so they're definitely getting much closer to the Mustang. Now it's down to, Paliqui riding those curves, but as I was saying, now it's down to trying to stay in the slipstream and finding the gap that works to make that move stick.
Yep, definitely. This is definitely going to be an interesting battle, because this will be a P2 for Paliqui in their first full race in the Silver Championship. An amazing feat as we see them slowly but surely chipping away at this time. Now 1.5 seconds away from Paliqui, or away from Sauce Dragon. This could make things very interesting later down the line.
Yep, but Sauce Dragon still putting up the pace. Now Paliqui only merely 2/10 down on Sauce Dragon's last lap, so Sauce Dragon already pushing, and Paliqui feeling the dirty air that Mustang is generating.
Yeah, definitely, and it's probably one of those things where it's like you're gaining, but you know, when you get hit by dirty air, especially going into corners, that could ruin your race. And if you're not careful, you could either spin or even, hit the guy in front of you.
Talking about close fighting, Parcho is I think 6/10 down on Weiss, so much closer than ever before. Parcho now having to try and find his way around that Aston Martin as they head out of the Tamburello chicane. Parcho not slowly losing time on Weiss, but overall still managing to tuck into that slipstream.
Yeah, they're just in the slipstream with about 1.3 seconds behind, but they've been chipping away each lap, so now it's down to a second. They just gained 3/10 going out of the Tosa hairpin, and that's going to be huge for Leparcho, as they head down toward the next corner. And I gotta say, it's definitely going to be close as we head to Aqua Minerale. Is it going to be enough to really gain some time? They're 8/10 behind, and Partial goes a little bit wide going out of that corner. And now, but it paid off. They're now half second behind. And look at how deep Partial was able to get those corners and still be fine. And now it's now down to almost 3/10 as they head down toward the last two corners. Into Rivazza 1, Weiss goes a little bit wide. Into Rivazza 2, Weiss still barely ahead, and they were able to save it and use the power of the Aston Martin to kind of pull away from Leparcho, heading down into the main straight. But is it going to be enough? Is he going to be able to hold off Leparcho for long?
Is looking quite close between Parcho and Weiss. Parcho with the slipstream, but unfortunately just can't find the gap. Imola, as we kept on saying, really tricky to overtake here. Lots of tight corners, lots of grass between your left, on your right. So Parcho has to commit to a move that will be sure. But speaking of moves, Palikwi is close up the rear end of that Mustang. I feel like this is going to be a pass in the making.
Definitely going to be close. Here comes Palikwi heading into Rivazza 2. Much better exit than Sauce Dragon. Then a little bit wide, and it costs him a little bit of time, which I think at this point Sauce is probably breathing a sigh of relief because they've now dropped back down to just about a second. They were almost 4/10 behind them, and unfortunately going a little bit wide out of Rivazza 2 has cost them dearly as they now head down into turn 1, heading toward the Villeneuve chicane now. You can see that Palikwi is able to gain a lot of time in Sector 3 off Sauce Dragon, but they've just not been able to really get it done, and that's Palikwi very wide out of the Villeneuve chicane.
Palikwi, unfortunately, I think they pushed a bit too much on that BMW. Now Sauce having the upper hand as it stands, but it's not yet over yet. We still have 11 minutes to go between these two. Speaking of battles, here we go, back to the back. Here is Leparcho versus Weiss once again. Can Leparcho find a way around past the exit of Tamburello, or will Weiss continue that excellent defense? Here comes Leparcho and Weiss coming out of Tamburello. Will it be enough? I don't think so. Parcho still sticking behind the rear end of that Aston Martin.
They've been having a lot of trouble in the straights keeping up with Weiss for whatever reason, and they've just not been able to capitalize on the time that they gain in the corners, which has been very unfortunate as we follow along now with Leparcho as he heads out of the Tosa hairpin. They gain so much time going into that hairpin, but the Aston Martin just pulls away into the straights and is able to just hold that line a little bit better than Leparcho. I'm wondering if maybe because of the damage that Leparcho has, maybe the dirty air is making it a little bit harder for Leparcho to try to make a move on Weiss as effectively as he would like.
Yeah, a bit of aero damage is not something you would like, especially on a aero-dependent car like the Ferrari 296 GT3, but Parcho can still making that car work and still trying to put the chase on Weiss as they do one more lap around the circuit. Can Parcho find a way around Weiss, or will Weiss make that Aston Martin as wide as it can be?
Only 10 minutes to go. 10 minutes for Weiss to hold off Leparcho for that amount of time. Can Weiss do it? They've been having a lot of advantage in the long straights to keep Leparcho behind, but it's in places like the chicanes where Leparcho is able to just absolutely gain so much time, and unfortunately they've just not been able to capitalize as we head back with this battle between Palikwi and Sauce Dragon. They were able to get a lot better exit going out of the chicane. Palikwi right on the bumper of Sauce Dragon. Is this going to be the move? Palikwi on the inside. Are they going to go for the dive? No, but they're maybe going for the over-under. Oh, they tried, but they got a little bit of snap oversteer. Heading out of Ravazza 2.
Through goes Palanqui with the corner exit into the main straight. That's enough to get that BMW alongside the Mustang. The two titans of ACC, the two giants going side to side. The biggest, well, there's still the Bentley, but the biggest cars on this grid as Palanqui takes the inside of Tamburello and steals the move.
Absolutely amazing move. Almost collected. Sasha almost collected Palanqui. Saw what was going on and then backed out of it immediately. But now Palanqui is now up to P2. Absolutely amazing move as they head down into the Villeneuve chicane. Now heading down into Tosa. Now all Palanqui has to do is keep that Mustang behind him. But that's not going to be an easy feat because they probably really had to push going into that corner. And now it's going to make things very interesting as now Palanqui obviously is not going to be able to catch up to Guianda with a 17-second lead, but now they've just got to keep their race and hold Sauce Dragon behind them. As we see now, Leparcho right on the bumper of Weiss. Again, they've tried, and again they lose time going into the chicane. It's been rough. Like every time Leparcho is able to get into a move on Weiss, they've just not been able to capitalize on it. And as we see Leparcho going really deep into the Villeneuve chicane, that lost him a little bit of time. And now he's going to have to make it up. He's now 1.3 seconds behind.
That was a very smart move for Palanqui, waiting until the main straight. And as we leave, as the battle of the boats concludes for now, we have an Aston Martin versus a Ferrari in the works. But Parcho, at the moment, struggling to find a gap to pierce into Weiss's defenses. But Weiss really holding on quite nicely, making that Aston Martin as wide as it can be, and just not letting Parcho pass anyway.
Definitely, I want to say in the chicane there, Leparcho has Weiss's number. They gained so much time going into that chicane because they cut in so much deeper than Weiss. As we see Leparcho going deep on the brakes to try to gain a little bit of time. Now heading into Ravazza 2, they're right on the bumper of Weiss. Here we go, down the main straight. Is the Aston Martin's power going to help them keep them behind? It looks like it is, because look at them, they're gaining a little bit of time in the main straight. And I think, and again, this has just been Leparcho's issue. Every time they've been able to get them in the corners, they've just been not able to get them in the straights because of the power of the Aston Martin in the long straights. And that, I think, has probably been the most frustrating thing for him, because he knows he has the pace, he knows he can get by him, but he's just not been able to capitalize on the times he's gained. And I gotta say, he's gotta find a place in these more cornered places to try to make a move. And as I see that, here we go into Torsley hairpin. They went a little bit wide. I thought they were gonna go for the over-under. No, they aren't, but they are now right on the bumper of Weiss. Can Weiss hold them off?
One thing I noticed from Weiss's driving is that they prioritize corner exit. That's what's been helping them throughout the whole race. Parcho was usually really aggressive on the brakes, but unfortunately that makes him lack an exit, which Weiss, with that especially with that Aston Martin power, just pulls far away. But Parcho just trying his best as they head into the Alta chicane.
Yeah, into the Alta chicane they go, and again, Parcho is able to go so much deeper than Weiss, which is very interesting considering, but it's definitely helped them, especially going down toward Ravazza, but they've just not been able to capitalize. Going into Ravazza 2, here we go yet again, now down the long straight, and again, Weiss is just able to pull away just a little bit, and it's able to keep Leparcho right behind them. And I don't know, they've got four and a half minutes to hold them off.
Parcho really has a lot of pressure, trying not to be last, but Weiss equally having as much pressure, trying to hold back Parcho, because that Ferrari is not giving up. That Ferrari is trying to find ways as Weiss gets a bit loose coming off the Villeneuve chicane, but that's not going to affect them too much as Parcho. But Parcho is closing in a bit. Could this be the move? I don't think so, because the Aston Martin's power just pulls him away. Parcho, all he can do is just tuck into the slipstream and get as much less air as he could have, but Parcho considerably closer into Aqua Minerale. Can Parcho come off the corner exit? It's going to be close.
There it is!
On the inside of Aqua Minerale! What a brave move as they're side to side! But it's not quite yet for Parcho as he tucks back right into the outside chicane.
Message sent. That was a very daring move into Aqua Minerale. It almost worked, but it wasn't able to capitalize. And now Leparcho has to try again into the corners. And now, oh, Leparcho goes really wide. That's not going to help them much. But now they're just sending it deep into the second corner. Hey, wait, that's Guiando!
That's Guiando! That's Guiando spun! I wonder what happened! That is Aqua Minerale! As we head into... That is... Yep, here we go, coming into Aqua Minerale. I wonder what happened and... Huh. I believe that's hardware failure, I think. I don't know. It looks like hardware failure for Guiando, which is rather unfortunate because he's been solid all race.
That is so unfortunate. I find it a bit odd though, because it looked like he just slowed down and stopped before.
Yeah, that is a very bitter way to have your race end. And 2 minutes to go. It could have failed later on, but failing now, that is just, that is heartbreaking. But that's, with Guiando out of the equation at the moment, our surprise leader, Palikwi, are a new leader for this race. So, Palikwi didn't expect to be fighting for P1, yet here he is.
Yeah, I'm still very curious as to what happened. We'll have to look into that, and I don't know. That was very strange. Hopefully they're able to figure it out. And man, it's just super unfortunate. As we follow along now with Raph, who's slowly but surely catching up to Ven. They've only got a minute though to catch up to them. And speaking of a minute, that also means Leparcho has a minute to gain on Weiss, and I don't know. Weiss has been doing everything they can to keep that car as wide as possible, and it has been working out to perfection as we follow along with them now into turn 1. So far, so good, and you can see that they gain a lot of time into the chicane, now heading down the long straight, and again, the power of that acid is saving them. Into the Villeneuve chicane they go. Leparcho is able to go a little bit deeper than Weiss, but it hasn't helped them much. Here we go, down into the Tosa hairpin. This is going to be it. This is going to be the last lap once Palikwi crosses the line. And now, Parcho only will have one more lap to do this, to get the job done. They've gotten so close. They almost made the move work at Aqua Minerale, but it didn't come to be, and it lost them a little bit of time. Here we go into Aqua Minerale again. Parcho goes a little bit wide. Is that going to affect them? No. Here they come into the chicane. They're right on the bumper of Weiss. Into the chicane they go. Remember, Parcho's able to go a lot deeper into the chicane than Weiss is, and it has worked to perfection. Look at him. He's right on the bumper of Weiss. Here we go, down into the final corner as we follow along now with Palikwi, who's in the Tosa hairpin. Here comes Leparcho into the first Ravazza, now into the second Ravazza, looking to make a move, and that's very loose by Leparcho, but that was also a horrible exit by Weiss. Here we go. This might actually work out for Leparcho. Here we go, making a move on the outside. Now looking at it in the inside.
Parcho on the slipstream of that Aston Martin is side to side. Where will Parcho go? Weiss is blocking a bit, but Parcho down the inside of Tamburello. Can he get the move done? Not quite. He goes a bit wide, and Weiss, they're side to side on Tamburello, but unfortunately, Weiss comes out in front. And I would like to confirm from Kiyando that apparently their game froze, so that's the reason for their retirement. But back into this battle.
Back into this battle, so close, he had it! He absolutely had it! But unfortunately, going into this first chicane, he went really wide, and unfortunately, that gave the door back to Weiss, and they were able to regain the position. That was so heartbreaking to see, because he had been trying for so long. As we see now, Palikwi has crossed the line to win here at Imola. Super great job by Palikwi as we follow along now with Sauce Dragon, who comes in second. Third is going to be Oily Rags, and fourth is going to be Swingly as they head toward the line. Now back to this battle. Laparcho has only a few corners left to get the job done. The battle for last has been probably the most intense we've seen all race. As we see now, heading toward Ravazza 1, is Laparcho just going to send it deep on the turn into the Ravazza 1? They sort of do, but it cost them. They broke a little bit deep. Now heading toward Ravazza 2, Weiss gets a little bit wide. Here comes a better run by Weiss, or by Laparcho, but it's not going to matter. Weiss is going to keep the position. P7 for Weiss, and then P8 for Laparcho.
Oh my goodness, what a race. This just unfolded in the final stages. Nobody would have predicted what would have happened, but unfortunately, Guyanda with that hardware failure. But that hands the win to Palikwi. We have 3 different winners this season, as I think we did in this AmChamp. And behind Palikwi is Sauce Dragon. Now, if you think of it, if Palikwi wouldn't have made that strategy, Palikwi would probably be stuck behind Sauce Dragon. So this was a bold call for Palikwi to make, and
it worked.
Mega congratulations to them for that strategy to work. And finalizing our podium, Oily Rags making it a Blue E 1-3.
Yeah, Blue E podium, but again, that's going to help out. That definitely helps out Oily Rags in the points, because now they've got a fairly decent lead in the championship standings going into the final event in Suzuka. And that really means that at the end of the day, it's definitely going to make things very interesting. If Swingley's able to get a good run, then maybe they'll be able to even steal from Oil Rags, but we'll have to see.
We'll have to see indeed. But yes, we have really captured ourselves great racing here in Imola, from the carnage of the AM Championship to a dramatic finish in the Silver Championship. We have gotten everything we needed for a cinematic doubleheader as we head into the Suzuka circuit in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, definitely. And if I were to give the driver of the day to anyone, it would 100% be Weiss. Weiss was definitely the slower car of between him and Laparcho, and yet every time Weiss was able to just make that car as physically wide as possible to hold off Laparcho for, I almost want to say, what was it, like 20 minutes? Because they were within a second for, I want to say, a good 15, 20 minutes.
I have got to agree with you there. Weiss, despite not having the pace, really made up for defense. That was some really brilliant defending from the number 366 Aston Martin. And even though they finished lower down, they still fought to the end. And that's what matters here in racing.
Yeah, definitely super happy for them. They were able to hold them off and give us a really good battle to watch. And hopefully they'll be able to do that again at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. So definitely going to be excited for that.
Yeah, Suzuka Circuit, not to be confused with me, Suzuka Shark. It's going to be very interesting to see who will come out in this race because Suzuka has proven to be a very, very great track venue for racing. It's previously served in the Silver Championship, which I know all too well. But as we wait for the standings to arrive, let's talk about what we might see with the title battle between these guys in the Silver Championship.
You mean we won't see a Tig rotate a shark again? That'll be very unfortunate.
Who knows? Parcham might punt Oily in the hairpin.
But they are a Tig, though.
but they race for Tig Gang.
True. This is true. But, we don't want that to happen, obviously. But,
Obviously, nobody wants crashes to happen, despite what we've been seeing in the AM Championship.
yeah, we don't want that. That we don't want to repeat of that. That was pain.
Pain indeed. It was very terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. We're still bear with us, folks. We are still waiting for the points to be tabulated. Um, right now, I gotta say, despite the grid being a little bit smaller, we definitely did get a few interesting battles, and we did. There were a few mistakes, mainly from Leparcho and the curse of the Villeneuve chicane, but really, in the end, it was. I gotta say, with everything that happened, I would say it was an amazing race.
Indeed, it was. While the grid was more spanned out and with less drivers than we had in the AM Championship, the the absolutely phenomenal battles that we've had just compensate that by a lot. Cause we've had some brilliant strategy calls, brilliant wheel-to-wheel racing, and overall, that is the cherry on top for this weekend as we still continue to wait for the results to post in and the standings to continue. But for sure, I think it's still Oily Rags with the championship lead coming into Suzuka. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Who could steal that championship from Oily Rags, or if Oily Rags can defend as much as he can. We'll
Yeah,
all
well,
find out in 2 weeks' time.
yeah, we'll definitely find out in 2 weeks. We've got two very heated points battles going on between Derg and Zephyr, and now between Swingley and Oily Rags. So Suzuka is going to definitely be one of those tracks where anything can happen, and hopefully, everything will go smoothly. But Suzuka has also been one of those tracks that it's not like here in Imola where you're not gonna have like chaos in turn one as badly, but it's definitely a track that gives you interesting battles, interesting fights, and it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually pretty excited for it.
Yep, Suzuka has been a any race that Suzuka's been something to look forward to, whether it be the real life Japanese Grand Prix, which used to be the finale back in the olden days between remember between Senna and Prost, that those two infamous collisions, or well, Schumacher's first championship with Ferrari. I think that was taken in Suzuka, was it? But
I believe so.
and yeah, this also includes sim racing. Suzuka, a wonderful venue. Totally not biased.
Totally not biased. Okay. Okay. uh,
but very wonderful venue it is. And if the season one championship is something that brought a lot of drama and good racing action, then certainly we'll be seeing a lot of that great drama and action in the in the second in the second season. No, this yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, third. I assume this third season of AM and second season of Silver Championship.
yes.
So
Yeah, it
and
is a.
as the results come out, let's see who comes out on top. It is Oily Rags with a 10-point lead, a very solid lead with 67 points, with Sauce Dragon behind, only trailing by 10 points, 57 points, but still very close to Swingley with 54 points. So Sauce Dragon might have to look behind on Swingley, because Swingley could pounce at any moment. And if the Porsche is something to go by, I feel like the Porsche is going to be a solid car in Suzuka. Anyways, fourth in the championship is Ven with 45 points, Leparcho with 44 points, and Blade Wolf unfortunately missing out because of holiday, now down to sixth with 40 points. And it won't be a long while until you see Weiss with 30 points, Paliqui claiming that really unexpected win with 25 points, and Wrath climbing up the championships with 15 points, and completing out the top 10 is Timo, another driver who hasn't participated in this race tonight. And the bottom three, we have Auraz, who missed out because of an injury from what we've heard, with 12 points, and Giondo, unfortunately, having to while he did finish 75% of the race, so that still awards him points, but it would have been 25 if it weren't for that hardware failure, and you really got to feel for them. I've I personally had a hardware issue happen to me, and it's just definitely one of the most heartbreaking things you can ever go through in sim racing.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely drives you nuts. It's happened to me once before where I had, my, I believe it was my shifter fail. And this was when I was using Fanatec. I'm so glad I use Moza now. Um, and now, we had it happen to Guayando, which is super, super unfortunate. But I also want to point out with Sauce Dragon in second, it basically has erased their incident at in the previous race where they had an absolutely horrible accident in turn one, but they've still got a long way to climb in order to win this race. So definitely going to be very interesting to see how Suzuka goes.
Indeed, the fight is still on for Sauce Dragon. Only a 10-point deficit between them and Oily Rag. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two will fight it out here in Simufur. Will the Mustang's power go through the straight sections of Suzuka, or will the 296's corner ability capitalize on those S's, and especially the left-hander 130R? Anyways, this concludes this broadcast. I am Suzuka Shark, not to be confused with the Suzuka Circuit in 2 weeks' time, alongside Wolfin Foxdale. And again, special thanks to Denak behind the scenes with the camera work. And we hope to see you in the next 2 weeks for the finale of both the AM and Silver Championship.
Have a good one.